I've been like in a really weird emotional state this whole week. Actually, like my emotional state has been like really manic. It's been going from like I'm fucking really satisfied with myself to like today it went back down to like fuck. I just feel like I just feel shitty. And I don't know where this is coming from. And I know that a lot of it's actually coming from. I had this breakup. Now it's about a year and a month ago. Mm-hmm. And I've been through a lot of breakups. I've been through a lot of them, and I've gotten over a lot of them. This one, for some reason, it's just like there's just some shit that's still stuck with me about it. And actually, it's funny because somebody said something to me earlier this week that completely shifted my whole perspective on it in what I thought was a positive way. And then I had a conversation with another friend that I really, really respect and admire, and he gave me some advices, and that shifted everything back to me feeling shitty.
Oh, weird. What advices did he give you?
All right, so here's the thing. And I mean, there's a lot of baggage here, and it'll come out in different order. And by baggage, I just mean history about the subject. So I had a friend who told me something about my ex. And what he told me 7 words that like instantly changed my perspective on it.
You're so mysterious. What were the 7 words?
He said, I don't know why she's with him.
Oh, the new guy that she's dating?
Yeah.
And that just shifted your...
Yeah. And I thought that was good because I was like, whoa, yeah. I don't know the answer to that question either. And that made me feel really good.
But did she leave you for him, or it's just somebody that she started seeing afterwards?
No, it was actually, we had an open relationship.
Oh, okay.
So we each had 2 partners.
Okay, so she was seeing him during...
Yeah.
Gotcha.
She was the other one, and now it's still the other one. Okay, so, all right, so where am I at?
What your friend said shifted you into manic.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, like I just feel like this weight's been lifted. I mean, literally been lifted, and I'm just like, that, we mentioned this Braverman test in the previous episode, and they actually took it. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions on that was, do you feel buoyant? And I'm like, fuck. I haven't felt buoyant actually in a fucking long time, But when I heard this from my friend, which is someone whose opinion I respect, I was like, wow, I actually think I feel buoyant now. Okay. Okay. But then I'm like, well, wait a minute. And I'm talking to myself. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I have to make sure that these feelings are for a good reason.
Why?
And not for a bad reason. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because it was like, and this is my interpretation of why this reaction was not so good after I had a chance to look at it from a different perspective, which was that if it's like I had to rely on someone else's assessment in order for me
to feel good
about my own assessment.
Right.
And that's not good.
Gotcha. Okay.
Is it?
When you put it like that, not so much.
Yeah. So it was like I had told myself that same message, right? Or any one of a myriad of messages.
But it didn't have the same impact as when somebody else said it.
Yeah, and it was the first time that I felt that my ex didn't deserve me after hearing it from somebody else. And that's just, it doesn't seem right. There's just something a little fucked with that.
Gotcha.
So, so that's where I'm at with that right now. And this is just coming, like, this is like some shit in my life that I haven't figured out yet that actually seems to come from a a long time ago in my past because, like I told you before we started the show, when I was growing up as a little kid, I really had to, for some reason or another, rely on other people's assessment of me in order to give my permission to feel that way about myself. I thought I figured this shit out, and like, no, fuck, no, it's not figured out. Or it's not like it's still like eating at me, whatever the fuck that is.
Right, and then you're upset at yourself because it's eating at you.
Yeah, that tends to have like a multiplicative effect.
Well, one thing I think, at least just, based on what you've said now, here, right now, it seems like you tend to magnify both good and bad feedback from outsiders.
Shit, yeah, I do. That's so observant because I completely do that. The things that are like, okay, you did something wrong. I've been telling myself, and everybody tells me all the time who knows me, like, Ara, you're too hard on yourself. Mm-hmm. And I see it in myself too. And so when there's something bad, it's like, brr, brr, brr,
right.
like, submarine meltdown.
But you magnify the good too.
Yeah, and when something's good, it's like, I'm just like so fucking high. Mm-hmm. I can't even tell you.
And ultimately, you even said prior discussion that one of the things that you want to change is to have that internal validation, so it doesn't matter what other people are thinking, good or bad. Right?
Yeah. So I have this up here, or this is where I'm at up here, and down here it's not there.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk you through how to build a completely new emotional structure, because here's the thing, okay? So our feelings, we're all addicts, okay? Or a better word is habituated. We're all habituated to our current physiological, chemical, emotional state. Whatever we feel creates, literally, chemicals get released in our bodies, and our body becomes habituated to those, whether they're good or bad. So people, that's what perpetuates depression, that's what perpetuates stress or anxiety or, any emotion you can name. It's also the same function perpetuates happiness. You don't have to have a reason to feel bad or a reason to feel good. Because the thing is, whatever you focus on, you're going to create more of. You're going to experience more of that thing. And so I don't know how much detail you want to go into. The cool thing about what I do is that we don't necessarily need a lot of detail. But I think for our viewers that we should have some detail so that they can understand.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so one of the things that you had mentioned was in your upbringing, your childhood, that you relied a lot more than, at least a lot more than you perceive as normal, on outside validation.
Yeah, almost completely, actually. Almost like if someone was upset at me, it was like I couldn't handle it. I had to resolve what was getting them upset at me. And if I couldn't do that, it was like...
panic.
Yeah, it was like a massive panic thing. So I'm not going to tell the story, but basically, I was basically bullied for a period of from 2nd grade to 8th grade. Mm-hmm.
I was bullied from like 1st grade through 4th grade.
Yeah. It wasn't just some students, it wasn't just most students, it was also the teachers too. Mm. And it was the headmaster too.
Right.
He bullied me. And it wasn't every teacher. I had a few teachers who were my friends. I mean, I was bullied as a kid, so I felt like shit.
Right.
As a kid about myself.
Because this was still like this overinflation of outsiders' opinions, probably.
Yeah, there's definitely still going on. Well, sure, right? Because it's like somebody's approval of me was fantastic.
Right.
Somebody's disapproval of me was like
catastrophic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a crisis.
Everybody overinflates others' opinions sometimes, for some reasons. Now, the difference is you're doing it consistently, and it seems like it comes from the same place. Like it's a long standing pattern.
Yeah, it is.
And so one of the things I want to walk through with you is it's kind of a combination of timeline therapy and reparenting.
All right.
All right, so I'm gonna have you close your eyes,
Okay.
and it's kind of like a guided meditation. And go ahead and you can open your eyes. Now I know you went through some stuff because I've done this myself.
Yeah.
And
Hold on a second.
you want tissue? Go for it.
Actually, keep talking.
Okay, so when I did this, if I can share,
Yeah.
what came up for me was what seemed like a fairly innocuous memory.
Yeah.
But you know, even those, sometimes it's really small things. I mean, for some people it's really brutal things like outright abuse and things like that, but sometimes even just the smallest incidences.
You know what it was?
Hmm.
I got like a message. It wasn't, I don't know if it was that, but that was around the time it started.
Mm-hmm.
And I started, I mean, you could probably just feel my body language when it started, but like, it was actually, like, there was a few other memories that is actually still not fully coherent, but I could feel the emotional content of them,
Right.
you know? And it was like a little bit later than that, but that's when around the time it started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times it's started by a seed and then it grows. Okay, so like in my personal thing, what came up for me the first time I did that, and you can do this again for other, you know, other things as need be, but for mine we were asked to, it was a group exercise, so we were asked to, if we could like just put a word to whatever was holding us back, whatever was blocking us.
Wow.
And the word that came up for me was unworthy.
Mm.
And then she did that with the subconscious go to where it was. And what came up for me was this memory when I was like 3-4 years old maybe. And I can place the time because my room was pink, and so I had to be at least 3, but I was not much older. And what had happened was my dad had come into my room to take a nap with me. And I was feeling, you know, my little girl heart, I was feeling special. Like, oh, my dad wants to spend time with me, right?
Mm.
And so he laid down on the bed with me, and I was laying there. Now, when I was a kid, I used to do this thing where I'd flip my pillow over to get to the cool side.
Yeah.
You know, and then once it warmed up, I'd flip it over again. And I was probably also going through, like, the standard 4 sleep positions, which I still sometimes do today, till I finally get in whatever one is most comfortable for me at that point. And this was going on maybe 10 minutes. And my dad snapped at me and he goes, "Can't you just lay still?" And that was just like a knife to my little heart. You know, it took all the specialness away. And just like that. And that had grown and germinated in this huge
Really?
seed or tree of feeling unworthy.
Wow.
You know? And so literally we went through the same exercise, did all that, and I cried for 2 days afterwards, just purging. So, you know, if you need to, feel free, do it, you know, because sometimes we need to purge those old emotions. They get stored in our cells. We did the timeline of reparenting. I think one thing is just simple, and this isn't an exercise to walk through or anything, but to just simply forgive yourself. You don't need to feel bad about feeling bad.
You know what? I've went through that so many times.
You've what?
I've went through that so many times.
Went through what?
Forgiving myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, keep doing it.
I guess I have to keep doing it. Like one of the things.
Well, I don't think you have forgiven yourself because at least based on our conversation before recording, that was one of the things was that, okay, you've gone through other emotions, but this particular time feeling angry at yourself.
Yeah.
For those, for still having this cycle, right? For still having this pattern. That's not self-forgiveness.
So there's this thing where I go through that and then I feel like it's not actually there.
Stop shitting on yourself. Because that's what you're doing, right? You're like, I should be, I should do, right? And then you're getting mad because you're not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So stop shitting on yourself.
That's a good one. I like that.
And it's a release of all of that from the past. You know, you can't go back and change the past.
Nope.
Regardless of how much you might want to or whatever. You cannot apply the lessons that you know now to the past. All you can apply them to is the now.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really affect the future. The now is going to affect the future. So, applying all this to the now.
Yeah.
To be like, you know what? I let go. It's over. It's done with. I can't change it. And I did the best that I could at the time. I did the best I was able to. Because we all always are doing the best that we think that we're capable of.
Yeah.
So that I think is self-forgiveness. It's not just saying I forgive you, it's actually acknowledging that, hey, you know what, I did do my best, and I have to be okay with that because it's over and I can't change it. And so rather than like continually beating myself up about it, I'm gonna let it go. Does that make more sense?
It does. I really enjoyed hearing that. I don't know if it's gonna. I don't know where else to go, but
All right,
yeah.
So let's go deeper.
All right.
Because we all do the same thing to ourselves, to some degree or another.
Mm.
We hurt ourselves, and then we blame ourselves, and then we fear ourselves. So all of this is what you're doing to yourself internally, right? So the thing is, though, that you're that person. You're me, or, you know, that imaginary best friend. So all of this, like, you're holding
You're so
on.
fucking tricky.
It's all part of what I do, right? We gotta get to the truth.
Ooh. All right. Wow.
So you've been holding a grudge against yourself for hurting you, right? All this time. That's the underlying.
That's what I just realized.
Right. That's the underlying basis of why you're not forgiving yourself.
Wow.
Right?
I'm holding a grudge against myself?
I know, it seems so silly, right?
What the fuck? I'm holding a grudge against myself? That is like resonating really strongly, and I can't even explain why. Fuck.
Now you can let go and forgive yourself.
Thanks.
You're welcome. That's what we do. And I hope that these things that we've gone through will help you in your own life, you know? Because a lot of times we do struggle with self-forgiveness and all this other, you know, emotional patterns that we carry. And it's not necessarily going to be the same emotional pattern, but we all have some kind of emotional pattern that it would serve us well to heal. So.
Yeah. Thanks, Nadine.
My pleasure.
All right.
That's why I love doing what I do.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Sayonara.
'Cause I'm losing all doubt and fear when I'm with you.